It is a beautiful day out, and I'm here with Kevin from the Regional Water Providers Consortium. And Kevin, normally when people are watching the show, we're talking about plants, so we're thinking green thumb, but you have this new list of things for watering called blue thumb. Tell me about that.
Basically, the whole precept is in order to do your plants the benefit, or give your plants the benefit of the water, you need to know how to water.
Right.
And so we learn about plant properties and soil properties and all of this, but we forget that there's water. We think that we can just go out there and water and everything is just fine.
So you guys came up with the top 5 things to pay attention to, and really, they're all pretty simple, aren't they?
Very simple, very simple, and they will give you a better bang for your buck for your water dollar. We all know that we're spending a lot of money on our summer watering,
right.
And this is a way to mitigate some of that cost and keep a good, healthy plants.
Well, let's jump to number 1. What is that?
Well, the first thing to know is when to water. And that goes across not just time, but also seasonally. You know, this year we've had a tremendous amount of rainfall, and
right.
You can tell walking around here that
it's still mushy on the lawn.
It's very soggy. And we haven't had a lot of hot days to pull that water out of the soil.
Right.
So when to water also comes with knowing when your soil is at a point that your plants need water. So that would be one part. The other part is the time of day. As we move into the summer, the air gets hotter, the ground gets hotter, so the evaporation happens at a much quicker rate. Our job is to get that water down when there's the least climatic effect, so it's allowed to saturate or soak into the ground deeper before the sun hits. So your plant has more access to deeper water.
And really, a lot of that just makes sense if you stop and think about it, because then you would really pay more attention to when you have to water.
Exactly. We usually recommend that you end your watering by 10 o'clock in the morning.
And then don't pick it up till like 6 or 7 at night?
I usually say late. You know, I like the 10 to 10 thing.
Perfect.
You know? If it's too dark, 8 to 10, you know. But
so what about number 2? Where are we going after that?
Well, the second one we want to talk about is how much you need to water. And that's going to depend on the plant type, and it's going to depend on the season. When the plant type, obviously the roots of a tree or the roots of a shrub is going to be much deeper than the roots of a lawn. So those two things are going to be an obvious takeaway for you. The other thing is the time of year. In mid to end May, we can get some warm weather, but we still have extended cool weather in the morning. So you're not going to need to water as much in May as you are probably in the end of June or into July or August, where our heat level goes up tremendously.
Certainly.
So you can adjust that factor based on the season, and you really should go and change your water at least monthly.
So Kevin, what would be an easy way to gauge the water usage? How much?
So an easy way to go is to go to the website, conserveh2o.org. They post the weekly water number, which is a combination of what the plants use and what the soil naturally evaporates, and it gives you a recommendation for how much you need to water on a week-to-week basis.
Nice. So Kevin, what is our next step, number 3?
The next thing is to water to your plants in particular. And again, like we said earlier, we're looking at shrubs versus lawns. So the depth of the water, we want to water enough to get that moisture to move down through the soil to the root level so that the plants can use it. The way we do it is we lengthen the frequency between watering. So in other words, if you're used to watering every other day, in order to promote better root growth, you're probably going to water once every 3 days. And you're going to water enough that it's going to get down to that root level and then pull the water off. What that does is it encourages the plant to go looking for water, which the way a plant looks for water is extending those roots down.
Correct, yeah, so you're making it stronger by doing that.
Yes.
So now that leads us into our 4th point, which is about water runoff?
Right. Every type of soil reacts to water differently. Here in this region, we have heavy clays typically, which means that the water infiltrates slower. So when we start watering thoroughly, we may put on the water at a faster rate than what the soil can absorb,
right,
which means that it'll end up down there. We want to keep our water on our property to the plants, and so what we may need to do is to adjust our watering cycle to be what we call in the business cycle and soak, which is we run for a brief period of time, we stop, allow that water to infiltrate in, and run again. Your eyes are your best indicator. A really good tip is to go out there and turn a zone on look at your watch, see how long it takes before you see that water starting to puddle or run off, and then calculate how much water you need to give and set that up in start time so that you can water it 3 or 4 times in a cycle.
And once again, we're back to paying attention to our gardens, what's
Again.
happening. So that leads us to the last one, number 5.
Number 5 is sort of the method in which you do better with all of the first 4. And that has to do with that soil. And it's adding amendments or mulches to help that soil infiltrate that water, to benefit it so that the water that you put on your yard stays on your yard.
So mulching just isn't to help with weeding problems, it's also for water.
It does. It helps reduce the frequency of water because the mulch will prevent the water from evaporating as rapidly.
Yeah.
Plus it helps hold the water in place so it stays where we put it.
Perfect. Well, there you have it. Now, those are the top 5 tips. If you want more specific information about each one, we always invite you to go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you over to the Water Providers Consortium website and gather all that information for yourself. As always, my friend, thank you, Kevin.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.